All right, Shalom Yasharallah, Shalom Israel. Before we go any further within this lesson, I want to open up by giving all praises, honor, and glory with infinite blessings unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kachodash. And I also want to give double honors to our beloved other bishops and to the other apostles of Great Millstone that teach well and are well, with much blessings. Always, in salutations unto the hopeful elect, to the Akim, Wafi Aqua that are tuning in. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Barakatham unto you and to your households within these evil days, these evil times in which we're surely living in, bro. All right, and this is just a quick, lesson, through the spirit. Just, I think it's called Land Back. All right, off of, the big bro, Malakia from GMS Temple. So as we watching this video, man, just it's basically fully in the spirit of this is where we're at, okay, and this is where we are, heading into, man. All right, a time known as the time known as Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 6 and verse 7, known as Jacob's trouble. All right. So I want to just say, fair use. This video is fair use. Okay, I'm not making any money off of this, not monetizing off of this video. Okay, this is for educational purposes only and prophetic, all right, edification.
It's low, so let's go into which is happening right now. Okay, doors are shutting, mom and pops are shutting, farmers getting shut down, etc. Stores shutting down, merging together, banks merging together. Come on, man. The grinding is low. It says, when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. All right, all this entertainment, all this laughing, all this game playing, all this folly. Okay, you're gonna be waking up looking.
All right, and this is why, I just want to add a point onto, what the brother said, because this is also why, we're seeing, all right, certain, celebrities and, actors and movie stars and, athletes or whatever, just celebrities in general, moving towards the next, best folly, they're streaming now, man. All right, but at the end of the day, it's all folly, because, everybody's fucking struggling, man. They're going broke. All right, we're seeing the stars, all right, fall, man. These people, okay, those who receive their constellation here on this side, especially, all right, the Israelites that have sold out, man. They're trying to keep afloat in a time where, all right, there is no afloat, okay, and the only way out of this economic collapse, all right, this man-made economic collapse, or to survive within these great evils, which will multiply upon this place, is by having and trusting in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai.
Okay, for you to survive, man, you will be getting up early, all right, at the voice of the bird, man. You see, you Americans don't understand what's getting ready to come down your way, man, especially our people, man. They just gonna be taken. They're gonna be taken by it. So let's get this here
in the 120s,
because now you got a lot of people seeing what's going on with the oil prices, and a lot of people, okay, are panic buying. Okay, so let's go to it.
All right, so it's fluctuating right now.
Let's start here.
And the point is that it's high. So even
in which this is, certain stages, okay, in an economic collapse. All right, panic buying. All right, so let's see, grab this real quick. Collapse. Come in. All right, so I asked the chat GPT, what stage in economic collapse would panic buying be listed? All right, and it says in most economic collapse frameworks, panic buying usually appears in the early to middle crisis phase, when the public begins losing confidence in supply systems. It's typically placed around stage 3 or stage 4, depending on the model. All right, and then it goes on to the first bullet. It says normalcy, stability, supply chains function normally, and this is before what took place. All right, with the Strait of Hormuz being closed. All right, in these nations, all right, aiding America within resources. All right, crude oil just in general, and certain supplies which America, aka Babylon the Great, needs in order to keep this system alive. All right, and the people that keep this system alive, man, because it's the working class. It's you Jakes, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. All right, then these peon, weak-ass Edomites, so-called white men. All right, but this is the working class. All right, bullet, point 2, it says people trust banks, stores, and institutions. No unusual consumer behavior. Okay, and this is the calm before the storm. So that's basically what it is. All right, because what we're about to see now is once again a man-made, economics collapse. Okay, to where the system just fucking falls in, crumbles in on itself. All right, by the way of the people, as 2nd Ezra 15:16. All right, tells us about. Verse 2 says, not verse 2, Salaki. Bullet point 2 says, warning signs. Inflation rises. Shortages appear in certain sectors. News about supply distributions, banking stress, or geological tension, in which we're seeing geopolitical tension. Okay, so let's look up that word geopolitical, because basically what's going on around the world right now, you have tensions between these nations, man. All right, and mainly, all right, the main buyer of these other suppliers being Babylon the Great, America. So what we're about to see, are the effects of these tensions that is spreading around the four corners of the earth, with Babylon the Great being the short end of what's going on. So let's see if we can grab this word geopolitical real quick, and then we'll grab some scriptures, of course, because this is what we do, man. Geopolitical. Hi, how you doing, man?
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Geopolitical is. All right, so let's get it. Actually, I could just grab it right here. What does geopolitical mean? It's all right if I didn't spell it all the right way. It's okay. I ain't worried about that. So geopolitical, it says, refers to influence or geographical factors such as location, resources, size, climate, or politics, international relations, and foreign policy. Okay. It explains how countries use their physical surroundings to gain power, security, or economic advantages, often defining the power struggles and relationships between nations. So let's grab this book of Luke chapter 12 and verse 49, because what America has done has basically made itself a target. Okay. They have basically put themselves in that seat of fire. All right. While Donald Trump being the head of Babylon the Great, aka America, okay, this man has made many enemies. All right, has made many foes of allies, to where the point that you have, once again, allies being foes. So let's grab this. Luke chapter 12 in verse 49. In the red letter, it says, I am come to send fire on the earth. And what will I if it be already kindled? All right. And this is going into the Lord, Yahweh Shai, the one you ignorantly call Jesus Christ. All right. The Lord basically letting it be known that upon his return, he's coming to send physical fire. Okay. Physical fire, a cleansing here on this earth, mainly to Babylon. All right. And that he would not be at fault, because due to the tensions between these nations, all right, that America has built up, all right, and is constantly kindling amongst the rest of these nations, either that be the NATO, the EU, okay, Iran, and etc., even to the point to where, once again, allies are turning into foes because how America is moving. And this is what we are seeing right now. All right, as World War III is happening, which is biblical prophecy if you don't know that. Revelation chapter 11 and verse 14. Okay, this is the third woe. All right. So the Lord is basically saying a fire, okay, a tension of a disagreement, okay, all right, or, constant offenses between America, which America is the one that's doing these things, the offenses and causing, the bad blood amongst these other nations. That's a fire that's being kindled, like anger within the rest of these nations and their leaders, man. So Yahweh Shai is going to bring that physical fire by the way of nuclear destruction, and the way of those chariots, man. Okay, which the people are going to call the UFOs. All right, the angelic vehicles of the Almighty power. All right, let's grab this. All right, actually, let's go back to this, man. All right, it says some people start stockpiling quietly, but it's not widespread yet. All right, so what you will have your preppers, okay, your doomsday preppers are those who understand and, on a carnal sense, and see that America is going down. All right, and that's on a carnal sense. All right, not a spiritual sense. All right, of prophetic through the eyes of these people that labor, they work, and prepare, all right, for this economic collapse. Because within economic collapse, which they have many movies about it, shows, shorts, clips, etc., of apocalyptic end times and what will happen, all right, when that comes to a well-functioning, especially empire like America. Okay, we're gonna have people with and people without. So scrap that. That's where we go to the book of Ezra, because it tells us what's going to take place. All right, and what people and what the spirit that these people are going to be in during these times, man. And this is what wisdom is. This is the true embodiment of wisdom, understanding, all right, of Yahweh B'Ashem Yahweh Shai, man. Because we understand what's about to happen before it happens. Thanks be to our power, Yahweh B'Ashem Yahweh Shai. So it says, all right, everything, it all ties in, bro. Everything ties in. I don't know when I'm going to stop the video, man, but, may we flow through the spirit and power Yahweh B'Ashem Yahweh Shai as much as we can. All right, because, and once again, I want to say, definitely check out the brother page, man. Very edifying, man. The brother makes very edifying lessons. I watch the bro as much as I can. You know, if I see uploaded, you know, I'ma watch it. You know what I'm saying? But definitely check him out and subscribe. Okay, to the prophet, man. So Second Ezra, chapter 15. Okay, here let's start at the verse 14. All right, because this is what we're trying to tell you, man. This is what we're relaying the message and what's about to happen. All right, you're seeing all these things take place and it's happening for a reason. All right, but now we're going to let you know, because now it's here. We're going to show you the after effects. All right, or really you people are going to find out. Okay, you're going to participate in these things, either you like it or don't. But we're going to let it be known as a warning unto you before it happens, and it surely is going to happen. All right, so 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. All right. Okay, and that woe means destruction, man. Okay, woe means destruction, man. Destruction and death. And this is going out to the people that dwell here, the people, the nations that dwell here on earth. Okay, a lot of death and destruction, okay, is about to take place here on this earth. You know what I'm saying? And this is all on a biblical portion. All right, so it's what's the perfect word to use? All right, world meaning oinkum meaning, or maybe some more so like, I wouldn't say that. Let me read, you know, because I got my words mixed up. Salakia. It should be so it's got eon, oinkum meaning, and they have, I'll just say the whole world in general. All right, nobody's going to be subject from this, man. All right, but the point is, verse 15, it says, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. Yeah, man, and what's the ultimate sword, man? The way of these thermonuclear missiles. In which a lot of people in these times are going to be met with the physical sword, man, which the physical sword being, you know, that modern day sword is a gun now. Because we understand that back then when this was made, when these scriptures were written, man, they didn't have that type of technology. They didn't have, okay, that type of knowledge, okay, to make a musket, okay, or to make, you know, a grappling gun or a RPG, or now the SMGs and all type of, you know, Esau Edom's fucking weaponry, man. Okay, but basically, those who are allotted, all right, for destruction by the way of that sword, by the way of these tensions, okay, and these prophecies being played out, it's about to come very soon, man. A lot of people are going to get gunned down, ran down, okay, raped, robbed, pillaged, all right, all type of things, in which we're going to grab it, we're going to get into it, man. Okay, so 2 Ezra 15 and 15 says, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And it says, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, going into nations of people, so different type of nations, like we see Iran and the US. Okay, that's going to trickle down over here to America. All right, and you people think this place can't get touched. You seen what happened and what's going on over there in that land of Israel. It's going to be the same thing over here in the great USA, but even worse. All right, because now, I don't, if you haven't been watching or you haven't been looking, there are sleeper cells in the US, and they've so-called been activated. So what we're about to see is a lot of things take place here, and the whole point is destruction is coming to this place, man. There is no safety, there is no escaping any of these things, man. All right, unless you are of the chosen, man, the chosen of Yahweh Shema Shai, a part of the elect. Okay, and it says, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, even going into race wars, civil wars are going to take place here. All right, because these Edomites are going to feel very prideful. Well, they are prideful and entitled, okay, to what they have, man, which is Babylon the Great. You know, this weak ass place. This shit trash, man. But and it also goes into, it says, and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Once again, swords going into the gun. All right, and it says, for there shall be sedition among men. And if you can't see the vision, all right, meaning the prophecy, if you can't picture and envision this within your mind, okay, a great source to look at, man, or, you know, to get some type of view upon this is Purge. All right, The Purge. Okay, you can watch the movie The Purge, The Road, you know, the Book of Eli, you know, these post-apocalyptic movies. All right, so you can get a viewing of chaos and anarchy, which is about to be here on this place, man. That's about to be here on this earth. You know what I'm saying? And it says, for verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, and evading one another. And you know, you watch the brothers' video, it'll give you, the brothers are gonna go into it through the spirit, power of Yahweh Shema Shai, on why these things are going to happen, man. All right, you know, breaking it down statistically, you know, the videos and etc. But we're going to see these things, all right, and have a more so example on a carnal level, all right, a physical level of what's leading up to these things. But we understand why it's happening, because it's on biblical proportions, okay? It's a biblical prophecy that these things will happen. You know what I'm saying? And the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, is doing it this way. All right, because guess what, man? You're going to have people go through these things and they're not going to know what's going on, which that's majority of the world. All right, but it says, for there shall be sedition among men. And sedition just means going up against the legitimate government. Okay, going up against the senates, the mayors, your presidents even as well. You know, the so-called kings today. Basically, those, that shit claim, they probably about so much stuff. Basically those who are in a seat of authority, of power, which once again would be your senates, your mayors, all right, even, you know, the officers, you know, the police, all that shit, man. These people are going to wall out and do what they do, all right, for the love of Babylon the Great, man. Okay, but it says, for there should be sedition among men, and invading one another. So home invasions. It says, they shall regard their kings. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. Going into, you know, the highest form of authority here right now, which would be the presidents. Okay, and, you know, those after and under these. All right, but because we know really who's the true, you know, highest form of authority, which is Yahweh Shema Shai, man. All right, and the Lord is the one that's mustereth the battle, okay? He is the one that's controlling these things, man. And how the minds of these kings are in the hands of the Lord. And how he's able to sway it and push it, to move it, whithersoever he please by his will, man. Okay, and it says, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Yeah, so whatever the fuck these people know how to do. All right, this nigga, you know, Johnny might have been a damn Boy Scout, fired, you know, since, you know, for like 12 years or whatever, fuck, man. Who knows? Just an example. You know, he know how to hog tie, do all type of ties, start fires, you know, do all that, you know, thing that comes with the Boy Scouts, man. And guess what? He gonna be putting somebody in on a fucking hog tie, man. And rotisserie chicken rotating his ass on a fire. All right, eating a human. And these are the times we warning you people about, because this is exactly what's about to come to America, bro. Okay, a great collapse like never seen before, bro. To where the people are literally going to be fucking at each other. All right. Total anarchy and chaos. 2 Esdras 15 and verse 17. All right. And it even tells you how a man should desire to go into a city and should not be able. And even within that alone, it's a heavy point, because this just speaks on more prophecy, man, and prophetic events. All right. So, the point is, man, this shit is done. All right, Babylon the Great is over. America has fucking fallen. It's done. All right, it's all in the writing. All right, the great text, which is the Holy Scriptures, man. So, I just wanted to speak it down a little bit. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory with infinite blessings unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. All right, what we're finna see, man, is we're finna see a time like never before, man. Straight hell